Well, hello everybody. My name is Smipstick, and this is Space Engineers Episode 2 of our survival series. I spent quite a bit of time trying to solve our power problem. I remember there used to be a glitch with solar panels. If you put them right next to each other, like I just did, you could effectively double your output without taking up as much space. But I need to finish that refinery, so we're working on grabbing all the iron from that, putting it in this basic refinery, getting it turned into plates and all the materials that we need. And as I flew back to the rock, I saw that patchwork texture. I went to go investigate those to see what we could find there, looking for more iron in particular. So I'll go ahead and make some ore deposit GPS markers and load them up. And then we go back to the rock. Oh, that was the other rock. We go check out this other signal and grind down the parts. They usually come with a cargo container with a couple of components in there, just like that. So I go ahead and grind it all down. Now I get a little curious and grind down the tree there to see if it gives us any resources. It does not. But then you can see I'm always checking on these batteries to see if I have any components for them, because we really need to get them operational. But my ADHD is always kicking in, and I end up forgetting what I needed for them 100% of the time. But here we're running out of storage, so I built this temporary medium cargo container just to throw stuff in while we get the assembler all set up. So with both the assembler and the refinery, I'm now moving all those resources over because they've got bigger inventories, and I can use all their materials to help with other things. So go check out this other unknown signal. This one kind of falls apart. It's a little hard to get to. But we get those credits in there. The hitboxes are a little funky too, so I missed some of the parts, but I get what's important. Those steel pieces there aren't really that bad. Then we move on to here. I had this idea. I wanted to get this mechanical arm built right above the refinery. I knew it was going to need a little bit more power for it. I could hear the refinery and the assembler struggling to maintain, like they're not getting enough power. So I build this piping system so that the pipes, what they're going to do, they're going to be able to move resources back and forth. So when the refinery is done getting all that iron, it can directly put that into the assembler. So I no longer have to manually put it over there. That's going to be really useful. It's going to save us a lot of time. The next thing I start doing is working on this arm. So I put a rotor down, and then we're going to put a couple hinges. And I have to go through a few redesigns. I test it for a little bit, and it goes sour. Mainly just Space Engineers doesn't like having too many hinges. It also weighs a lot. It's very heavy, so yeah, I put this second one on here so that I can turn the thing down, which I found out that I don't really need because I'm going to have another arm on it anyway. So I go through this design here. I'm going to have a piston and a drill on the end so that the whole system I can use the drill from before to directly get all of those resources into our refinery. Alright, then I find this unknown signal underneath the water. I know that you're going to see here, I start taking damage once I go too low, but I realize the damage is really low. And then it explodes, and for some reason I don't die. So I just kind of accept that and move on with my life. Get out of the water. And then I go over here to inspect this resource depot. They won't let me in, but I can see they only have the 2 interior turrets and this Gatling turret up top. And we'll be coming back to that later. I spot some more of those patches and mark another ore deposit before heading back and getting back to work on our drill. The drill still had a bunch of stone in it, so it dropped some right at the end there. And then I go ahead and queue up everything and sort it all into one stack so I can actually queue everything up, because the assembler doesn't let us queue one block at a time, or one entire block in a single spot, and it only has so many inventory spaces for the queue. I'll mine out the space below, put the drill in, get to work on it. It's having a hard time. The physics in Space Engineers are giving that thing a little bounce. And I go ahead and move all the rest of this stone back over. There's a lot of stone in there. Alright, I'll finish with that. Ran out of energy in my suit, so we go recharge. And I realized that there's a bunch of parts on here that we aren't using. So I'll go ahead and drill some of those down. Grind some of those down, rather. I believe I hit that battery a few times, which, you know, luckily I don't have the best one, or else I probably would have dug right into those power, what are they called? Power cells. Because if you grind down the power cells, they turn to scrap metal, so that's not very good. I decide not to use my jetpack for some reason to get that ore detector. Then I move some of the components over, checking on that drill. So we're getting it close to finishing up. We just continue working on that arm. Check my components to see what stuff I'm gonna need. I'll check on those batteries again. Then I realize I can build better drills. We just need silver, which we do have silver, or at least we found some. So I'll go down here, go ahead and grab some. Takes a minute, it's pretty deep down. Takes a second, but I do find it. Grab that silver, and we just need a little bit, so my inventory is still filling up with a bunch of stone, so I have to drop it off a few times. Make sure I actually fill my inventory up with silver exclusively. Then we fly it back, put that in the refinery, queue up our tools, and now we've got a better grinder. So I'll go ahead and recharge my suit again. And then I think about that storage depot once more. This is where I make that decision to go ahead and get to work on it. I go ahead and inspect, checking for any more turrets, just to be sure before I start this grinding process. And then I immediately realize that I have to have my reputation has to be a certain amount of negative before they start to shoot at you. Which is basically right there. The second it starts shooting through that cargo container, I just decide to cut the floor out, so it's disconnected from the power. And then I realized there's a whole lot of resources in here, and that moving it back and forth is going to take forever. So I decided to shave the floor off and put some wheels on this thing and drive it home. So this is a whole lot of that, just shaving off all these armor blocks that are connected to the ground, and I spent some time setting up those wheels. And this is important. This kind of gives me a good idea of what it's going to take of how our home base is going to drive. So I put 3x3 wheels on these, so they're pretty big, but we're going to put 5x5 on our actual base because we don't want it anywhere near the ground because we run into some issues with this thing. Here's me getting all those wheels fixed up, all those axles. I realized I gave it all right wheels, so it was basically all right-footed. Yeah, it was not going to work well. And we disconnect it from the ground. Then I go sit in the control seat, set up the keybinds, and make sure the wheels work. They are, but they're not touching the ground right now. So I set them up as a group so I can edit them, and then we turn the height offset down as much as possible. So, and now we're moving. And by moving, I mean we're immediately stuck. The ground platform is too wide, and so it's getting caught on the terrain there. So now I have to shave it down to make sure that we're able to get past it. Foreshadowing, this happens again. I do not grind down the entire floor, mainly because I'm impatient. I didn't want to deal with the whole thing. I just grind off this back area because I'm pretty sure that's what's causing it. And I believe for this section, that is exactly what happened. It was just this back section that was causing the hiccup that we've got here. Which you can now see that the parts are above ground, so I'm not too worried about it. But then I forget to notice that I've got one block left that's connecting that front right wheel. And it is the floor block plus that little the aesthetic silo there. So when we get stuck the second time, it happens again. That whole wheel gets disconnected. But we start driving home. I try to set a speed limit for the car to make sure it doesn't get any airtime, because that, as cool as it might be, it would utterly destroy something, and I don't want to have to go through fixing it. But we get pretty far. It's not until we find a smaller hill that gets us caught and stuck once again. But we get pretty close to base. At least I think we're over halfway. Yep, and then we get stuck. Yeah, we get about halfway. I'm trying to wiggle it out, but it's just not coming loose. And it takes me about 30 seconds to decide I'm just going to weld the floor out and connect all the parts with frames. And then I accidentally disconnected that one anyway. So I go ahead and solve that problem, make sure that's not going to happen again. And then I just give in, and I'm going to move everything from this cargo container into a new cargo container that I build right here. Use the materials we've got from in here to build this one. Not close enough there. takes me a second to remember what I needed. And then once we get all that in there, we can take all the cargo from the container and just go ahead and manually move it over. Then we get to mining the rest of the floor, and I move the flight seat up to the top deck so that I can freely remove the floor there. I go ahead and reinforce these just in case they do get hit, because I don't like the idea of the wheels being entirely secured only by some catwalks. I realize we're out of storage space once again, so I go ahead and build a third cargo container. And then I start grinding down some of those parts that are more than just structure, because I know that they're gonna have more. Mainly, I'm gonna be taking this whole thing apart anyway, and those things aren't worth keeping. Basically, the only thing that's worth anything here are the actual components that the ship uses, like the cargo, the conveyors, the industrial assembler that they have. And don't get me wrong, those the other parts are good. Like all the steel plate is really helpful, especially in terms of mining, because getting this much steel plate would definitely take a long time. So stealing this station was definitely worth it. And then I run out of energy again. I go ahead and finish charging up. I did test the wheels in more than one way. And then we get back down to grinding that floor down. That was a lot of downs. We get back to grinding that floor. Here we go. We're getting pretty close here. And I realized I should probably take all those components out of the assembler before I grind it away. And then we're going to fast forward to what I am doing with all of those components. I finished all the batteries, the wheels, the arm is all finished, and I redesigned it so that it kind of works a little bit better. But now we're at a stage where I'm going to work on a larger drill section, which is what that hole in the middle is for. And now we get back to normal. Okay, so we're back. I just wanted to quickly explain some of the problems that we encountered while we were building this. I managed to finish driving that station over, and as you saw just now, we had the arm previously with the mining, with a drill on the end of it, and so I replaced that with this solar array. So that should help with power generation, as we've eliminated the solar or the wind turbines off of this design. I went ahead and added these large cargo containers to help keep up with storage. I'm going to fill in all this space with these light armor blocks just to give those cargo containers some added protection, because if they blow, if they take enough damage, we will lose everything that's in them. Because they all just spawn right out of the container and they just explode. Actually, that might be wrong. We might have a little bit of a failsafe against that, because I think they added like that little. If you remember when I mined away, or when I grinded away the drill that was first hanging off the side here, it dropped a little cargo container, like a little mini one. So maybe it should do that instead of just blow everything up. So hopefully we won't lose everything. This is sufficiently off the ground. I'm pretty happy with how high these 5x5 wheels have managed to keep the whole thing above the ground, so we shouldn't have that much of an issue with getting stuck. The only thing I have to be careful of is when we run into a hill of some sort. Any kind of hill, I have to either go fast and kind of get the front half of this thing over the hill so that the hill doesn't make contact with the bottom, and just kind of let the front fall down, or avoid the hill entirely. So those are our options. We've got this drill set up here. I can turn on all 9 of these drill bits and have it descend into the depths. Which is pretty nice. But as we saw with that silver deposit, this is not enough. This will take it down 20 meters, and this is about 2.5 meters off the ground. So we need approximately 4-5 more pistons before I'm really certain about this thing's ability to mine anything that we need. The worry with that is that's 6 pistons, and it's Space Engineers after all. So hopefully we'll be okay. I'm gonna have to extend that pretty high. That would take this whole thing to be about 1, 2, 3. Whoops. Oh, sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then it would need some sort of ceiling. So that would be a pretty tall structure. It would be that tall just to be able to get the drill to go 60 meters. It is going 60, around 70 meters below ground. That's a pretty long reach. And so, to be that tall is an alright. That's alright by me. But I'm not sure. There might be a way that we can sort of negotiate that instead of it being direct, like pistons hit them directly. You could have another piston off to the right here that is connected via conveyors, and that's how they're connected. But so they take up the same amount of space, but they kind of snake out. The only thing I'm worried about with that is the weight distribution. It could cause it to bend, and Space Engineers does not like that. It basically just deletes whatever block is bending too much. It's just gone, and then the whole structure will fall apart. But we're going to build up this in the next episode. We're going to finish building all this steel plate up, get this baby rolling, and start moving it across, grabbing these the different ore deposits that we found out there. Another reason why we need to build this up. I think this is going to be like the quote-unquote first floor. Is going to be right here. But then this pod here has this guy, the survival kit, and it's how we respawn. If we lose that, we can't respawn. So what we need to do is put a medical bay on this vehicle, and then we'll be able to respawn on it, which will be really helpful. The problem is the survival kit only comes with, I think, 3 medical components, and the actual medical bay needs 6, which we can't build. I guess we could build another survival kit. I don't know if they fit on large grids, but we want to build a medical center anyway. They just look nicer. But that will be our next project in the next episode. So sorry for the kind of strange video style that we've got going on this episode, but we should be back to normal. I've kind of figured out how I want to structure these videos, so that should work out pretty well in the following episodes, which you should see coming. I don't know. I think I'm going to try to do a Space Engineers video every 3 days or so. It takes quite a while to get the Space Engineers are a pretty slow game, so it takes quite a while to get a lot of the video filmed. I think there was about 4 hours that went into this episode alone, so I don't know. Let me know if you want to see that, if you want to just be able to watch all of that in not super speed, and maybe we'll slow it down, especially once we get into space. We'll definitely slow things down, because a lot of the excitement, the combat and stuff will be happening once we get out there. But down here, there's not a whole lot. The NPC ships and stuff don't really spawn. Like, we've got the damage antenna over there. I think these unidentified signals that are 1,700 kilometers away and 4,000 kilometers away, I think those are the new encounters with the super technology introduced in the new DLC. So we will definitely be checking those out once we're able to get into space and have an actual like sort of a larger response station that we can deploy from. Then I'll be more inclined to actually seek out those things, because right now we have no weapons except this pistol. We could make more. That's not necessarily the problem. But we're just not ready yet. Like, I would not feel safe taking this guy into combat, because if it goes south, that's it. We're starting over. So we want to keep this thing as far away from combat as we can, because it is actually our last bastion, our only bastion of hope. So if it gets destroyed, we're toast. That would basically mean the end of the series, as we would start up another one. But I'm excited to see what and where this thing will go. We're going to test out that drill next episode. We're going to get this finished, and we'll see if we can get down to those ores below the surface. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.